Hello everybody, Loader for Life here, bringing us a brand new video, and today we have another Grand Archive deck profile. Today we're going to be taking a look at Wind Alice. Now, Wind Alice, right now, at least feels the weaker of the two between it and Water. And yeah, I definitely felt it while playing the deck. Water just has so much more better units. It's got access to negation stuff and all that. Wind though does, however, have some really cool tricks to it. Most notably, it's got exclusive gear in the material deck that Water just does not have access to, which is really annoying. I wish at least some of these cards were, well, at least one of them. Actually, no, both of them would be amazing for the deck, but no, they're wind locked. Which is really annoying. Wind also has way more attack cards, command attacks. Water only has, I believe, one, if my memory was correct, that's dedicated for water, and then the other two for the two norm elements. Wind has like four. 3 or 4, I forget. But anyways, I digress. This is a really fun deck, and of course, we just got the Alice level 3 confirmed. The deck is only going to get better. I'm really excited to see where they go with it. I'm hoping that we get more than just the level 3 and the new attack card. I would like to see some more allies. I would like to see Water get some gear in the material deck. That would be really nice. But anyways, I digress. Let's get on with it. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about that material deck. So we do, of course, have the level 1, level 2, and level 0 wind everything. So we have the level 1 Alice, who of course gives us +1 attack for our command attacks, and you can lineage release her to prevent 3 damage to each of your guys, which is great. You got level 2, who of course lets you grab a card on enter, and then you can tap her to get a rest. You can rest her to get a token if you don't have a token, which is really important because actually one of the weaknesses of the wind build is that they don't have as many token generation. Water has some more token generation in general, especially notably with doubled pawns and having full access to Queen's Gambit, which Queen's Gambit the wind build can't really make use of unless you are playing the Spectre level 2 Alice, because you don't have to go into the Alice Whims Monarch. You can go into the Distortion Alice, whose name is completely escaping me right now. But you can go into her and have access to Umbra cards and stuff, which includes, of course, the Swartz Army Queen with Spirel, who for some reason is Umbra, which really annoys me. And we are just going with a basic wind element spirit here. You can do, I would say probably the recovery one would be the second best, but even then you don't want to give up your wind considering how wind heavy this is. But that recovery is always nice, especially since we're operating on 22 max health here, which really sucks. But yeah, I prefer the standard just for being able to get the most amount of cards for my, for the start and everything. Now, for the rest of the stuff in the material deck, we have one Lagomorph piece. This card, of course, is the card that you pay 3 to grab back a command attack from your graveyard. Very good card. It's the currently only way to grab back a command attack, which is really annoying. I hope that we get another way to grab back more of them. That way, at least, then we could consider cutting down the amount of commands and everything, because right now that's another weakness of the deck, is that commands, you gotta play a ton of them in order to really be able to maximize them and everything. Then we have one doubled dropped band. Reading it upside down. Drop band does the same thing as summon pawns, where you sack it off, reveal 3 Chessman cards, and get a pawn token. This does not get you multiple or anything, and that's all it does. It just kind of does a thing. It gets you going and everything. Not the greatest thing in the world, but hey, sometimes you just need another pawn token. Next, we got one of the unique to the Wind Alice deck, and that is Gustmark Gauge. So this card says all Chessman allies you control gain +1 health, okay? And that's really good while Gustmark Gauge is awake. Now, while it's tapped, if you're level 2 or higher, your Chessman allies get +1 attack instead. So if it's awake, they get +1 health. If it's rested, they get +1 attack, which is really, really great. Just helps push for damage whenever you're trying to go for that and everything. Whereas whenever it's awake, you are, well, using it to keep your guys alive longer. Making your guys just that much more buff really does make a difference, and this card is just phenomenal for that. Speaking of how to get it rested, well, you can pay 2 to tap it and then glimpse 1. That glimpse is... I wish it did something else, but you know what? A glimpse is okay. I wish it wasn't costing 2 though. That really, really sucks. And it's costly to do that just to get a glimpse 1 and then everybody +1 attack. But it does come up every now and then, and of course whenever you're trying to push for game, you want to tap it so that they well, get a bit bigger. Next we have the other one, which is arguably more important, and that is Briar's Spindle. So, it has 2 effects. The first you can only activate if you control a Chessman King, and of course my glare is like hitting it just right so you can't see the text. So the first effect you can only activate if you control a Chessman King, where you banish it and wake up each of your Chessman allies, and you can only activate... oh, sorry, I got it mixed up. That one you can activate at any point, and you can only activate it during your opponent's turn where you wake up your Chessman allies. That effect I haven't really used. It hasn't been relevant to like where it really has come up. You can use it in combination with the level 1 Alice lineage release to keep your guys longer, alive longer. But the reason why I don't use it is because you don't really want to get rid of this card. If you control Chessman King, you can tap it to make your next Chessman card cost 2 less. That is very, very important and helps keep this deck from running out of gas real quick. Big problem with Chessman, both for the water build and for the wind build, is that this deck just runs out of gas real quick. You need more cards in hand, you need more ways to get cards in hand, and you need more ways to be able to cut costs. And thankfully, Briar's Spindle does help out with that. Downside is you gotta play Briar. Briar is one of the worst cards in DTR, and he's one of the worst cards in this deck, and unfortunately, if you want to make use of this card, you have to play him. Briar is terrible. I hate him. He's garbage. He's dog water. He just sits there and costs memory to do stuff to enable other things to be able to get things going. That being said, though, Briar Spindle, once you get it going, it is so good. It is stupid, and yeah. Very, very good card. God, I wish Water had access to it, especially since they actually have a good king. Now for the generic stuff, we have Grand Crusader's Ring, and just generic draw card and all that stuff. We have good old Backup Charger, another draw card. Again, this deck needs ways to draw, something that's very important. We have a Smoke Bomb to keep our guys alive, or to do the cheeky thing with when you Smoke Bomb one of your opponent's thing. And then, hey, look at that, draws a card. Then we got Terrafring. Terrafring, of course, we just want to stay alive. This, especially with Alice, she's very weak in terms of her health and everything, and yeah, we need that. And then we got one flex spot. For that, I chose to go with Censor, because at least at my locals, I've noticed there's a lot of grave stuff, shenanigans going on. So Censor seemed good enough to play here in the flex spot, but you can put in just about anything you want over here. I don't know. I just decided to go with something that's a generic Floodgate that's kind of annoying. We also don't have a lot of floating memory in this deck. We don't really need it since we're not going to level 3 yet. But however, it is something, it's just not something that's super relevant, and obviously you're not going to play this out while you are trying to go into your level 1 and level 2. But I digress. Now, let's get on with the actual deck proper here and get going. First and foremost, we have 4 of the good old Golden Pawn. Golden Pawn is an amazing little card. It's the only, to my knowledge, main deck pawn piece, which is very important. She's got the same effect as the pawn piece token, where you can sack her after she does 7 damage to be able to get out a queen piece token, which is really important. She does not have commanded will, which means you're not getting bonus attacks with her, which, or sorry, bonus attack damage I should specify with her, which does suck, but honestly, you're not really using her for that. You're mainly using her for being a taunter, while you have another Chessman out, she is Taunter, and then also on top of that, when she dies, you get to draw a card, which is really good, and also combos with one of the deck's cards, which is really great. That being, of course, Golden Gambit, which you sack this off to draw 2 off of Golden Gambit, and then you get to draw another card off of her. Now for some of the more meaty guys out of this deck, and that is Rowland the Swords Knight. Rowland has a commanded will of 1, which means he does do an additional 1 damage, and then on ally kill, if the ally had Intercept or Taunt, he wakes himself up. He only gets that once a turn. So Rowland is a big, beefy 2/3, who becomes, of course, a 2/4 while you have Gustmark Gauge out, and he gets even stronger when you use command attacks and everything. Typically you use him without a command attack to swing over your opponent's taunters or interceptors, and then he wakes himself up, and then you go for big damage with a command attack towards the face and everything, which is pretty good. He is a unique ally, which is a bit annoying, so you can't play out multiple of him, but he's really strong, and he's like really honestly one of the few really good Chessman allies that actually feels like worth really playing. Speaking of, we have Turn, Turn, right? Yeah. Oh, it's hard for me to see. No, it's Term. Term. It's an M. Term. Anyways, Term, the Swords Rook here, he is the wind version of Lily and everything. He's not as good as Lily, but he is pretty solid. So whenever you attack with him using a command attack, he gets a buff counter, and then on leave, you get to put all of his buff counters on another Chessman ally you control, which is really, really good. Because then you're not losing your token. You're not losing your buff counters and everything. You can do cheeky stuff with this, like if you reclaim him or if you suppress him with... what was that one card called? I forget off the top of my head. Zephyr. You can, of course, trigger his on-leave effect to get your counters on one of your other guys. But obviously also, if your opponent kills him, you get the effect too. So he's really good, pretty solid. He starts off pretty weak, and he doesn't have commanded will, but he effectively does with the getting a buff counter every time he swings with an attack card. He's one of the ones who your opponent will deceptively think, or well, possibly think, oh, that card doesn't seem all that good, and then before you know it, he's got 3 buff counters on him, and he's a he's a 4/6, and he's just really hard to kill. So very good card all around. Very annoying. God, I wish he really is not as good as Lily, but he's still really good for what the deck wants to do. Anyways, next up we got 4 of our Windmill Engineers. This deck is basically Wind Allies featuring Chessman, if I'm being 100% honest. There are some things that I just am not playing due to deck space reasons. The GA Alice Discord chewed me out for playing 70 cards in the water build. I'm sorry, okay? God forbid I try something different than what other people do. So, there's a lot of stuff that I'm just not playing in here for not being a fit, but that I really want to play, like Ofa Sakura would be really good in this deck and everything, but just don't have the room, and that's one of the problems with Wind Ally, with Wind Ally, Chessman, Alice, all that fun stuff. There's just way too much stuff going on. Next up, we got a card that I really want to play 4 of, but I've cut down to 3. I'm probably going to play 4 in my water build when I go to revamp it and everything. And that is Gold Bishop. This card is so stupid. So when she, on hit, if the hit unit has an odd life stat, she gets a counter. She can't have more than 1 counter. But you can remove a counter off of her to be able to prevent the next 2 damage to any Chessman unit, including herself or Alice, who, hey, guess what, is a Chessman. This is really, really, really good and very, very annoying. This effectively makes her a 1/5 if you just use it on herself, but it adds an extra 2 prevention damage on your Alice, or it protects your other guys. On top of that, also, of course, she's not a unique ally. You can have multiple of her out, and then you just stack up multiples of her with the counters, and you can just not take any damage. It's very, very annoying. And yeah, very great card, very good card all around. Makes me really, really, really want to play 4, but it's hard to fit her in. I really want to test 4 of her in the water build when I go back to that after after I've got to my fill of wind allies. I very much prefer the water build, if I'm being 100% honest, but wind is fun too. Speaking of, here's one of my problems with the wind build, and that is Briar. We are playing 3 of him. Okay, so Briar is a 2/0 attack, 1 health, dude with hindered, spell shroud, and stealth, and he can't wake up. He comes out, he sits there, takes up space on your mat, is obnoxious, and doesn't do anything by himself. That being said, though, him being a unique ally, King Chessman card is very important. For one thing, once he's out, he's kind of hard to kill. Your opponent can just kill it with a non-spell card, but if they don't have that, they can't get rid of him, unless they also use Cleave. Actually, he's not that hard to get rid of, which is kind of annoying. You'd think with Spell Shroud and Stealth, he'd be hard to kill, but no, he is not. But anyways, again, we are playing him expressly for being able to turn on Briar's Spindle, because being able to use that every turn to reduce our next Chessman card is really, really stupid and is very, very important. Also, on top of that, because he is technically hard to kill, even though he doesn't feel like it, every time I played him, he got killed. I don't know. But anyways, I digress. Even though on paper he is hard to kill, because of that, he effectively always has your Dailu on. So Dailu is, again, this is where we get more into wind allies instead of just Chessmen. I'm sure everybody knows what Dailu does at this point, but in case you don't, he's got Pride 3, but if you have a unique ally out, he loses Pride and gains Vigor, and he's a 3/4 with 2 cost. This thing is stupid, and I kind of want to play more of them, but again, deck space reasons, and I wanted to play Chessmen, not wind allies. So, this was a focus on Chessmen, not wind allies. So, that's why I've got 2. Realistically, you could play 3 or even 4 of them. I don't know about 4. That feels a bit bricky, especially with how many unique allies there are in this deck. But, maybe. I don't know. Speaking of, here's one that's kind of controversial, I'm sure. And that is I'm playing 2 Dream Fairy in the main. I do have the other 2 in the side. And let me explain before you want to, like, I don't know, put my head on a pike. Not a lot of people are on ally decks at my locals, in my experience, and so Dream Fairy just doesn't do anything. I actually end up siding it out a lot of the times because my opponent's not playing guys. They aren't summoning guys. And then every now and then when they do summon a guy, they sack it off right away, or they discard it or something. Oftentimes the only guys I see is Liminal Guide, and usually by then I'm dead. So it's like, I don't know. I found it only 2. It's been working. I see it enough at the time when I want to see it. And if I play against a deck that I actually feel like I need to have more, I have it in the side to play more if I need to. For our final ally card, I do play 1 Golden Knight. This card you could probably honestly cut, but however, I like it for being another offensive unit that basically does the same thing as Rowlin, where if it attacks a guy with Intercept or Taunt, it goes up by 1 attack, which actually has come up because I've come across some decks where they got an Intercept or Taunter with way too much health. So yeah, she's just really good all around for that. And that's all of our allies. Let's go ahead and move on to the attack cards. So first and foremost, we have March On, which I only realized while I was getting everything organized to do this deck profile that I have almost a playset of foils. I have 3 foil. I need 1 more. But anyways, March On is our basic attack card. It just costs 1 and it does 1 damage. But however, it's got floating memory, so you usually use it early on to be able to get into your level 1 and everything, and all that fun stuff. It's an overall okay card. It's not anything special. But what it is it's floating memory, and it does get us some chip damage in early on. Next up, we have our finisher attack, which is Sacrifice Play. Sacrifice Play says whenever you use this card, you may sacrifice up to 2 other awake chessmen allies. If you do, for each one you sacrifice, you add 2 more attack damage to this card. So it does a base of 2. If you do the full sacrifice, it's doing 6 damage. But that's just by itself. You got to factor in too the actual attack stat on your unit, the commanded will, Alice's effect, if you have Field of Ranks and Files out, if this is the first card you're using, and if you're using it with a chessman that entered this the field this turn. I have done almost 14 damage with this attack. I think my highest was 12 or 13. This card is stupid when you actually get to proc it off. The problem is actually maintaining a board a lot of times. And so, yeah, that's why it's a 3 of, not a 4 of. And heck, you can even argue for cutting it down to 2 and stuff. The big thing is it's the finisher. And if you have everything all together, if you have all your ducks in a row, if you have the perfect golden opportunity, you can do a lot of damage in one swing with this card. And of course, if you're doing it with a pawn, then you get the golden token, who then of course is also equally annoying. And that card, using Sacrifice Play, could probably one-shot a full health champion at level 3, honestly, if you do it right. The problem is actually getting to the token and doing all the damage, and yeah. Anyways, for our rest of our attacks, we have 3 Windfall Check. This is one of the unique attacks for the wind element. This card does 2 base damage, costs 2, and on champion hit, your opponent has to banish 3 cards from their graveyard. I believe it's their choice. Yeah, their choice. So kind of annoying, but you know what? Well, and by annoying, I mean it's annoying for you, the user, that you don't get to pick. But you know what? It's also annoying for the opponent because now they have to banish 3 cards out of their graveyard, and yeah, that's just always good for some more graveyard hate. Next, we have En Passant. I tried my best French accent there. I'm sorry. En Passant is the wind equivalent of oh, what was it called? Skewering Advanced or something for water, where if you kill somebody with for this one, it is a, no, actually, no, this is on kill, you get 2 buff attack, you get 2 buff counters. I'm thinking of Bishop's Cross for the on kill draw card. If the unit that you kill has an odd life stat. The problem is usually you're going face, and again, at least in my experience, there's not a lot of ally decks, so you don't get to draw a card. So yeah, I'm doing 2 of that for Bishop's Cross, 3 En Passant for the on kill. Get 2 buff counters. This one you could also probably cut down to 2 because it just, again, well, I guess it depends on how many ally decks you're playing against. But anyways, moving on. Next up for our skills and spells and stuff, we have 4 of the Summoning Pawns. This card, you reveal 3 chessmans from your hand or memory, and then you get a pawn piece token. It's also got floating memory, and it's fast. So yeah, very important card all around. Get you a pawn piece out, get you floating memory engrave, and get you going with what your deck wants to do. Very good card all around. Next up, we have 4 of this broken little thing. Freaking, oh god, Calming Breeze. I was reading it as glooming. What? I'm tired and I'm reading upside down. Anyways, Calming Breeze. If you would take until end of turn, if 3 or less damage would be dealt to your champion, prevent that damage. So you're going, your opponent has a bunch of allies out, or they go and try to swing at you for some pokes. You play this. You don't take any damage if it's 3 or less. This is very annoying, very strong card for win decks and everything. Obviously, there's other, like, just probably objectively better cards like Veiling Breeze and stuff, which I should probably play, honestly, in this, but I don't know. Anyways, Calming Breeze, it's got the floating memory and everything, really handy. Just a good card all around. I think it's still a $4 rare. Or is it an uncommon? Wait, no, it's an uncommon. Yeah, it's a rare. I had it right. This card I saw was like $4 for a rare for a while. I don't know if it still is or not, but yeah. Next up, we got 3 Reclaim. This card, I keep bouncing back and forth between 3 and 4, but I don't know. Maybe once we go to level 3, it'll be a 4 of, but honestly, I don't know if I'm going to go back to the winds. I would like the waters. But anyways, Reclaim, bounce one of your guys, floating memory. Very good card all around. Everybody knows that. It gets you your, you mainly use it with Windmill Engineer so you can get the on-enter effect over and over, just, you know, looping that card. Just ridiculous. We got 2 Zephyr. I'm not the biggest fan of Zephyr. Suppressing never really feels all that good unless you're doing some degenerate crap with it, like recycling force cakes or focusing rounds or something. This deck doesn't really have that, so you're mainly using it as an interruptive piece, and it just doesn't feel that good. Like, oh no, you lose your guy until the end of the turn. Cool. And I don't know, it doesn't feel that good. Maybe I'm just crazy. I digress. Then we got 3 of the Golden Gambit. I keep going back and forth with 3 and 4 of this. 4 I was bricking on actually a lot, so I cut it down to 3. But this card is just really good. It's a draw card. You draw 2 cards. Well, but you got to, in order to do that, you got to sacrifice a Chessman ally, which of course is really good if you're sacrificing your Golden Bishop. It's not so good if you're sacrificing anything else, really. Or sorry, did I say Golden Bishop? Golden Pawn. This card also becomes fast if you are Alice, which is understandable. Stupid card, and yeah. Finally, I am playing 4 Fields of Ranks and Files. This card is the card that makes the deck just so stupid with how much damage you can push out. You need this in order to really be able to rack up that damage really quick. It's such a strong card. Oh, your first Chessman ally that enters the field gets +2 attack. Cool. And then you use it with your first command attack? +2 attack there? That's 4 more attack damage. 5 of Alice. Oh, you're doing sacrifice play? That's 11. Oh, your guy already has a base of 2 attack? That's 13. Very, very strong card. I don't see why you would play any more than play any. Well, I know I just played like 3 in my water build, but honestly, I'm going to be revisiting and reworking it, and I feel like 4 of this in there is still really good. Granted, a water build also does have access to Queen's Gambit, which makes it a little less necessary, and also honestly better, because then you have even more attack damage that you get. Speaking of, you'll notice I do not have Queen's Gambit in this build. This is the last card in this deck. I cut Queen's Gambit. If you don't know what Queen's Gambit does, it in order to activate it, in addition to paying its memory cost, which I think is 2 off the top of my head, I can't remember, you got to sacrifice a Chessman ally, and if you sacrifice a Queen Chessman, you get 3 tokens, 3 of your tokens, which is really good in water because, well, you have access to Snow White. The Wind deck does not have a Queen unless you are playing Evil Alice as your level 2. And I'm not doing that right now. I really want to test it. I really want to see if it works, but also at the same time, I want to go back to water, and I'm going to be actually switching to a different deck as my main deck for tournaments, because Alice struggles so hard. It really does. But now that we know the effect of level 3, I really want to be testing what the level 3 does for the water build and everything. And God, this game needs an online simulator so bad. Anyways, that is everything. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you have any ideas for what I can switch out, what I can do, all that stuff, please let me know. I apologize for the glare. I'm trying to figure out a good spot in my room to be able to record. I can't record elsewhere in the house anymore, which really, really sucks. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Rate, comment, subscribe, and peace out. Goodbye. Thank you all for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider rating, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. It all goes a long way to helping out me and my channel. And also, if you do, please consider following me on social media, as well as also checking out my other channels. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Peace out.